23. Thus would I have man and woman, fit for war the one, fit for maternity the other, both, however, fit for dancing with head and legs.
In Old and Young Women, and elsewhere in the book, Zarathustra made a distinction between men and women. Women were described as shallow, close to the surface of life, and changing quickly along with it. Men were described as deep, trying to find the stable laws behind the ever-changing daily life. Men were thus seen as warriors who try to impose order on life, whereas women were seen as those who want to continue life by giving birth. The woman needs the man in order to impregnate her, and also to impose order on her life. The man needs the woman as a dangerous toy, the being that is hardest to tame, and thus the best practice in his battle against reality. But here, he tells us that there is one thing in which they can unite: dancing. For the man, the dance is still a form of order, but one that is closer to the flowing, changing nature of life. Whereas for the woman, dancing is still a way for her to express her volatile nature, but in a more organized manner.
And lost be the day to us in which a measure hath not been danced, and false be every truth which hath not had laughter along with it.
Dancing is, of course, also the most truthful way of life, as he's been telling us all along. It's a way of enjoying earthly existence, bringing laughter and merriment into it, and laughter and merriment are the most telling signs that you chose the way of life that is truthful for you. It makes sense that this is also the place in which man and woman can meet and be as one.
24. Your marriage arranging, see that it be not a bad arranging. Ye have arranged too hastily, so there followeth therefrom marriage breaking. And better marriage breaking than marriage bending, marriage lying. Thus spake a woman unto me, Indeed I broke the marriage, but first did the marriage break me. The badly paired found I ever the most revengeful. They make every one suffer for it, that they no longer run singly.
After discussing the unification of man and woman, now he turns to speak of the official form of this unification: marriage. Some marriages should not have happened, and they end up in divorce, which is bad. But even worse than a divorce, he says, is staying together despite no longer being a loving couple. This only leads to contaminating the soul with vengeance and corrupting it.
On that account want I the honest ones to say to one another, We love each other, let us see to it that we maintain our love, or shall our pledging be blundering? Give us a set term and a small marriage, that we may see if we are fit for the great marriage. It is a great matter always to be twain.
Due to the ever-changing nature of life, love may not last. Therefore, we should create an institute that comes before the marriage vows, in which the couple lives together for a while, to see if the love is of the lasting kind. Sounds trivial today, but wasn't back then.
Thus do I counsel all honest ones, and what would be my love to the Superman and to all that is to come, if I should counsel and speak otherwise? Not only to propagate yourselves onwards, but upwards. Thereto, O my brethren, may the garden of marriage help you.
Finally, he reminds us that, as he discussed at length in Child and Marriage, every marriage should be thought of as part of the project of creating stronger humans, getting us closer to the Superman. For that, it first of all has to be a strong and loving marriage.
25. He who hath grown wise concerning old origins, lo, he will at last seek after the fountains of the future and new origins. O my brethren, not long will it be until new peoples shall arise, and new fountains shall rush down into new depths.
We now go back to discussing the procreating nature of life. Most people live as if the world of today is like it always was, and as if the future will remain the same. But those who study the past know that there are new things to come. Specifically, new nations, built around new tables of values.
For the earthquake, it choketh up many wells. It causeth much languishing, but it bringeth also to light inner powers and secrets. The earthquake discloseth new fountains. In the earthquake of old peoples new fountains burst forth. And whoever calleth out, Lo, here is a well for many thirsty ones, one heart for many longing ones, one will for many instruments, around him collecteth a people, that is to say, many attempting ones.
History, in Nietzsche's view, is not gradual progress, as many 19th century philosophers and historians described it, but advances from earthquake to earthquake. The earthquake is a Dionysian moment when everything is thrown into chaos, and then new forms arise out of the chaos. These earthquakes can be literal natural disasters, but mostly they occur when the values of a nation can no longer hold it together, and it collapses into anarchy. The thing that brings the old values down, however, are new ideas and forces that were withheld by them. After the collapse, these new powers can build something new out of the rubble, and find people who coalesce around it, and create a new nation.
Who can command? Who must obey? That is there attempted. Ah, with what long seeking and solving and failing and learning and reattempting. Human society, it is an attempt, so I teach, a long seeking, it seeketh however the ruler. An attempt, my brethren, and no contract. Destroy, I pray you, destroy that word of the soft-hearted and half and half.
Here he attacks the social contract theory, the product of the Enlightenment thinkers, the basis for the modern democratic society. Society, he says, is not built by equal individuals who get together and decide on a rational way to order their mutual life. It is rather created by powerful individuals who can create new values, and others who accept these values and obey them. And there is no right, rational way to organize society. It is an experiment in which the powerful ones invent different ways of organization and get others to follow them and try them out. The most effective ways are those that survive the longest.
26. O my brethren, with whom lieth the greatest danger to the whole human future? Is it not with the good and just? As those who say and feel in their hearts, we already know what is good and just, we possess it also. Woe to those who still seek thereafter.
The belief that good and evil are absolute and eternal, and, moreover, we know what they are, is creating a class of people who think that they are good and just, and are seen as such by the rest of society. These people, warns Zarathustra, are the biggest threat to the future of humanity.
And whatever harm the wicked may do, the harm of the good is the harmfulest harm. And whatever harm the world maligners may do, the harm of the good is the harmfulest harm.
Yes, they are even more harmful, at the end of the day, than wicked people.
O my brethren, into the hearts of the good and just looked someone once on a time who said, They are the Pharisees. But people did not understand him. The good and just themselves were not free to understand him. Their spirit was imprisoned in their good conscience. The stupidity of the good is unfathomably wise. It is the truth, however, that the good must be Pharisees. They have no choice. The good must crucify him who deviseth his own virtue. That is the truth.
The Pharisees, the Jewish rabbis, are seen by their followers as the good and the just. But Jesus regarded them as hypocrites, who elevate themselves above others, pretend to be better than them, and impose their moral values on them. When Jesus came and offered new values, they had him crucified. The good and the just of today, implies Zarathustra, are the same. They don't allow for newer and better values, those that are more connected to the spirit of the time, to take root.
The second one, however, who discovered their country, the country, heart, and soil of the good and just, it was he who asked, Whom do they hate most? The Creator hate they most, him who breaketh the tables and old values, the breaker, him they call the law-breaker. For the good they cannot create, they are always the beginning of the end. They crucify him who writeth new values on new tables. They sacrifice unto themselves the future. They crucify the whole human future. The good, they have always been the beginning of the end.
Who is the second one, who came after Jesus and, like him, saw what the so-called good and just were about? Why, it was Zarathustra, of course. Whom do they hate most? He asked about them, way back in the prologue of the book. He realized that they hated Jesus not for the values that he created, but for the fact that he had the audacity to create new values at all, to suggest that there could be other values than their own. This is how they perceive all other creators of values as well. And, because they are the ones in charge, they use their power to crucify them. But in that, they crucify the entire future of humankind that slowly decays as a result.
27. O my brethren, have ye also understood this word, and what I once said of the last man? With whom lieth the greatest danger to the whole human future? Is it not with the good and just? Break up, I pray you, the good and just. O my brethren, have ye understood also this word?
Following the previous discussion, Zarathustra reminds us that he already told us what the future of humankind will be, if the good and the just will continue to lead it. This also goes all the way back to the prologue, to his speech about the last man. This is why they are the most harmful, and why we must break their tables.
28. Ye flee from me, ye are frightened, ye tremble at this word. O my brethren, when I enjoined you to break up the good and the tables of the good, then only did I embark man on his high seas. And now only cometh unto him the great terror, the great outlook, the great sickness, the great nausea, the great sea sickness. False shores and false securities did the good teach you. In the lies of the good were ye born and bred. Everything hath been radically contorted and distorted by the good.
By telling them that they should go against everything they were taught was just and good, Zarathustra appears to people as the greatest villain ever, and they are afraid of him. But those who let his words affect them have their eyes opened, and they see the lie that they have been living in until now.
But he who discovered the country of man discovered also the country of man's future. Now shall ye be sailors for me, brave, patient. Keep yourselves up betimes, my brethren, learn to keep yourselves up. The sea stormeth, many seek to raise themselves again by you. The sea stormeth, all is in the sea. Well, cheer up, ye old seaman hearts. What of fatherland? Thither striveth our helm where our children's land is. Thitherwards, stormier than the sea, stormeth our great longing.
Once they have been awakened and liberated from the lie, they find themselves like sailors at sea, as any solid land has been taken from under their feet. And the sea is stormy, chaotic, full of uncertainty and dangers. But there is a new land awaiting somewhere, a land based not on the values of the fathers, but on the values that will be created by the sons, those who have been awakened. If we face the challenge, we can get to that land.
29. Why so hard? Said to the diamond one day the charcoal, are we then not near relatives? Why so soft? O my brethren, thus do I ask you, are ye then not my brethren? Why so soft, so submissive and yielding? Why is there so much negation and abnegation in your hearts? Why is there so little fate in your looks? And if ye will not be fates and inexorable ones, how can ye one day conquer with me?
If you want to go with me in my way, Zarathustra tells us, you must become hard. You can no longer be obedient, or pitiful, or lazy, or cowardly. We are facing a great challenge, and you must become ready for it.
And if your hardness will not glance and cut and chip to pieces, how can ye one day create with me? For the creators are hard, and blessedness must it seem to you to press your hand upon millenniums as upon wax. Blessedness to write upon the will of millenniums as upon brass, harder than brass, nobler than brass. Entirely hard is only the noblest. This new table, O my brethren, put I up over you. Become hard.
When you harden, you become powerful and able to impose your will on reality, even on values that stood for thousands of years. Then you become able to create new values and change the world around you with these values. Becoming hard is the preliminary step you must take before you can even start to try to be like Zarathustra.
30. O thou my will, thou change of every need, my needfulness, preserve me from all small victories. Thou fatedness of my soul, which I call fate, thou in me, over me, preserve and spare me for one great fate. And thy last greatness, my will, spare it for thy last, that thou mayest be inexorable in thy victory. Ah, who hath not succumbed to his victory? Ah, whose eye hath not bedimmed in this intoxicated twilight? Ah, whose foot hath not faltered and forgotten in victory how to stand?
We've come to the end of this long chapter. Zarathustra closes with asking his will to power to be strong enough to overcome the upcoming battle he is about to wage, the battle with his abysmal thought. He doesn't care, for now, about small victories. He wants to preserve all his energy to this one great battle, which he regards as his fate. Finally, he asks that his will to power be strong enough to withstand the victory, because such a victory might cause his ego to swell and corrupt him. I must admit, there is a chill running down my spine whenever I read these lines, because a few years later, it happened again. Nietzsche was preparing to write his magnum opus, a book that will bring a change to all values. Before that, he wrote a small book called Ecce Homo, summing up his life's work in much the same way Zarathustra does in this chapter. A few short weeks after completing that book, he collapsed and lost his sanity, living the rest of his life in total mindlessness. This is attributed to his disease, but these lines make you wonder, did Nietzsche crumble under the weight of the new thought he was about to present to the world?
That I may one day be ready and ripe in the great noontide, ready and ripe like the glowing ore, the lightning-bearing cloud and the swelling milk udder. Ready for myself and for my most hidden will, a bow eager for its arrow, an arrow eager for its star. A star, ready and ripe in its noontide, glowing, pierced, blessed by annihilating sun arrows. A sun itself, and an inexorable sun will, ready for annihilation in victory. O will, thou change of every need, my needfulness, spare me for one great victory. Thus spake Zarathustra.
The reason why he asked his will to power to preserve him, even after the great victory he hopes to achieve, is that he wants to be there for what is about to come. He wants to be there for the great noontide, when humankind finally turns things around and starts to create values that affirm life. He wants to be there, to witness his values taking over, and only then will he be willing to succumb. Thus ends this long chapter, in which Zarathustra summed up his work and recounted all the old tables that he broke and all the new tables he presented in their stead. He is rightfully proud of what he has achieved. There is just one little problem, though. Lurking in the deepest regions of his subconscious lies the feeling that something isn't right. Namely, that the new tables he created don't add up. There is a discrepancy between them, a self-contradiction that lies at the heart of his philosophy of life. If he can't find a solution, he fears, this self-contradiction will destroy it entirely. This realization is what he calls his abysmal thought, and this is the thing that he is preparing to do battle with. The stage is set. Zarathustra has reached his cave. Now we are just waiting for the abysmal thought to finally show up.